question of financing education is probably a gorilla in this session?
Well, it certainly is, because education it takes up the lion's share of our budget. It does. When you throw in health care on top of that, and an aging population as well, and both our children, our poor children and our elderly take up the bulk of the health care as well. Yeah, it becomes an enormous issue, and sometimes when some people see all those dollars, the first thing they want to do is find out where we can make cuts, instead of paying the bill that we know needs to get paid.
So you're painting the future. What if you had no restrictions and no budget problems? What would you envision?
If I was king of the world for the day.
That's right. It could be a week.
It could be a week.
Okay.
Give me a week. Okay. Yeah, I would more and adequately fund our education. I would put resources in K through 12, and particularly classroom sizes, full day kindergarten across the board, and fund the appropriate research facilities in our universities. I would go out and seek the best and the brightest professors to come to our state. I would go out and seek the best medical professionals to our state administrators and bring them here and give them reason to believe that Nevada is going to do it right. We're going to give you the resources to do it right. And those are things that I would do across the board in the rurals, in the urban area. Our kids would be in classrooms with no more than 15 or 20 kids in a classroom, and those teachers would have those resources, not only the resources of a small classroom and equipment and stuff, but also the resources from administrators that are there to support them to teach our children. These are things that I would do if I had that, and I think you would see some market changes pretty quickly if you could do all that stuff in a week.
What changes would you see?
I think you would see a tremendous drop in unemployment rate. I think you would see a drop in drug and alcohol abuse of kids coming out. You'd see increase into more and more opportunities. You'll see increase in more innovation in our state. Mm-hmm. You would see industries come here because they know that here is where it's happening. Changes are being made, positive changes are being made, and that the state is invested into making that happen. And so everybody would benefit from that, and we would grow appropriately.
So now you're not king for the day. Now you're a legislator.
Now I'm a legislator.
What do you see in the process that helps or hinders that?
Well, the part that helps is having that tirelessness that of speaking to your colleagues that slow that progress, mm-hmm. and explaining to them, because some of them it's not because they're mean-spirited or but it's actually a microcosm maybe that they have absolutely no experience in, and you have to not only tell them about it, but you have to convince them that it's true. It's not a fanciful, oh well, you're just saying that. One example, and someone told me that people really don't go to prison for shoplifting, and I say, you want to bet? It happens. As a criminal defense attorney, I've seen it happen. With my clients, it's called, it's petty larceny. Yes, it's only a few bucks that they stole, but it's a burglary, which is a category B felony. They go to prison, and you know how much that cost us? And until they see it themselves, it's hard for them to fathom because it seems ridiculous, but we do that. And so part of that is educating them. That that's going to help. what's going to hurt is coming into this institution with the attitude of, you know, digging your heels in. Okay, I know they're going to ask me to do it, but I'm not going to listen to anything like that, and just be so dug into a position. That's going to hurt. So.
Well, Nevada's a very large state, and
Seventh in the union.
Yes, big territory, different kinds of populations. Historically, politically, the rurals were in charge for many years. Then Washoe County, and Clark County kind of burgeoned. But you have, or would you say that you still have 3 separate realities that try to drive the political process?
Sure you do. You have, because as the state has grown, I mean, the reason why the capital's here in Carson City, because this was the central, just like in any other state, that's where all the shaking and baking was going on, you know, and the population was. But as the state grew, yes, those dynamics changed. But also your office holders, which it matters. It matters who your representatives are. Mm-hmm. And people have asked me all the time, all the population is down south, but, you know, it seems like northern Nevada gets a disproportionate share of funds. And how does that happen? The shift as more and more Nevadas, this recent reapportionment, more of us are representing down south. Both Republicans and Democrats. And as we see some of the inequities, disparities in distribution of benefits and funds, whether you're a Democrat or if you're down there, down south, like I'm from, and you start seeing, hey, wait a minute, this isn't fair. You're going to start seeing changes, and we're having those debates actually this session. Mm-hmm. On that, but look who we have down south. You have the Speaker down south, you have the Assembly Majority Leader, myself down south, you have the Senate Majority Leader down south, and you have the Senate Minority Leader down south. The only other leadership person that's up north is the Assembly Minority Leader. And so the dynamics have shifted somewhat. You know, now that doesn't mean it's going to be an easy slog to make the adjustment. You already hear from our colleagues up north on how some of these changes are going to hurt them in the rurals and the cuts and everything. I don't want anything, you know, bad to happen to my rural colleagues and their education system, etc. But I think it's cuts that they've seen coming for a while. They should be preparing for that likelihood to happen. And it's no different than the cuts they've been asking us to make since I've been here since 2003. So.
Well, thank you. Again, you're one of the younger legislators. You come from a different generation with a whole bunch of different skills and your reality. What would you like to say to younger people about becoming a legislator? At 7, you said you didn't think you would do that. You didn't even think you'd do that at 19 or 25.
Yeah. You know, I'd have to say that whether you are interested in running for office or whatever, or just being a volunteer, I think the important thing is being engaged. And I think that's what, put me on somebody's radar screen to run for office. Because I was engaged in the political process. So, I voted, I went to events, Democratic events, and listened to elected officials and what they had to say and asked questions. Because it was important to me what was being done and said in my state. Even the session before I even decided to run, I came up here to the legislature. And before I knew it, I was sitting at a witness table because I saw a bill that I disagreed with. And so I would say to young people to get engaged. My oldest daughter, who's now 26, I call her my wayward child because she's a Republican. Or as recently she changed to independent, but she's a Republican. And but she and I would have incredible debates, and sometimes she would, "You're not upset with me," but I said, "No, you're engaged. Mm-hmm. You're engaged. You're reading, stuff like that. As long as you don't come at me with silly stuff, I want it to be thought out, and reasoned, we can have that debate. That's what I do here, you know. So I'm pleased that she's engaged to, you know, have that type of dialogue. And that's what I would, when I go to schools, particularly junior high schools and high schools, I talk to them about getting engaged, because they're not. And they don't think it affects them until I point out to them legislation. I say, hey, what about the legislation where you can't have, you know, cell phones on campus? And they, what? No, that's it. I said, yeah. I said, guess what? People like me, old guys like me, are up there making decisions that affect you. I go, how many of you can drive, have your brand new licenses, you know, but you can't ride in a car with anybody? And they say, yeah. I go, guess what? That happened in legislation. I go, because people like me are making decisions for you. So you can either get engaged or you can live with the consequences of what we're doing. And so that's what I would tell people, you know, get engaged or live with the consequences of people making decisions for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Perfect wrap.